Okay, perfect. Hello, everyone. I just want to give a quick heads up that this session will be recorded. And the purpose of this webinar or training tutorial is to cover the features of MailManager for ACT, which, as most people on the call are aware, is a product that we developed over most of the fall of 2018. It was, in some senses, an amalgamation of 4 different products, enhancing the features of each of them to combine into one subscription service. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw everyone's attention to the product page that we have on our website. So you click on our app and then MailManager for ACT. Now, I'm not going to go through and do a reading session. I just want to cover where some of the resources are available. So as you can see, here is a breakdown of the 4 products that have come together to form MailManager for ACT. So the first is Opt-in Manager, which we'll get into later. The second is Mail Merge for ACT, which is the actual delivery of the emails. The third is the automation feature with Notifier Lite, and then the final is ACT for Outlook. And we're going to see how all of those, complement each other as part of this product. So let me bring this back over here. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to review, because having used this in production over the last couple of weeks and even months, I realized that there's a lot of features that most people, certainly in the sales department, wouldn't know to really talk about, but they're actually incredibly powerful. So the first thing, when you install the program, you end up with a menu option here, okay, MailManager for ACT. Now let's quickly go through the settings, and this is not going to be a how-to. I just want to do kind of a quick fly overview so you guys can see the configurable features within the program. Okay, so as you can see, here's the settings, the password. Here's where you get the your account password. Here is the contact exclusion. And what this means is that this is your opt-out field. So what you do is you specify in your database what will be your opt-in field and what will be the value that that you set for contacts with this attribute that will not be sent emails. So this is a client-side suppression. Okay, so that's the first feature. The second then is your general email settings. Now you're seeing both IMAP and SMTP, and I'm going to get into why IMAP is important later, but you have to set this up. And for people that aren't familiar with the difference, IMAP basically relates to incoming emails and SMTP into the delivery. And we have an inbox feature that's incredibly important and powerful. So we need to have these settings so Mail Manager can go in and check them. Okay, so you put in your settings there, determine your level of encryption, click on test connection, and then you're fine. Okay. I'm getting a bit of feedback, so if people can mute themselves until they have a question, it'll avoid me having to mute everyone. Okay. The next one. The next side is the most obvious, and this is what people would expect, is the SMTP settings. This is what you need to actually deliver the email, okay? So none of this is terribly exciting. You can see the incoming settings. But what is really worth of note here is the number of connections. Now, this is not something that we spend a whole lot of time, talking about, but you can support up to 10 concurrent connections. And what that means is that you get 10 separate threads with which you can connect to the mail server. So you can easily get 10 emails per second when sending this. Okay, so this is a multi-threading email configuration to really dramatically enhance the delivery performance here. So please make sure to talk this up, that if your outbound mail server supports this, this is something you support up to 10 concurrent connections. Okay, the other thing is that you'll see here that we've got our own mail servers settings here. If I wanted, I can select from several other saved configurations here. You can see SendGrid, you can see MailJet, you can see Mail.Keystroke.ca. And the purpose of this is it allows you to kind of load balance all of your deliveries based on maybe some different subscriptions you've got, or based on a larger distribution. So let's say I was sending to several hundred, like I did this morning, sent out an email notification for the handheld contact resellers. You know, that was about 150, 160. So I have no problem using the mail.keystroke.ca settings. However, if I got something going out to thousands of people, I may not want to use our own in-house mail settings, so I can select MailJet. And as you can see, I select it and they automatically populate with all the settings, and then it goes down back to 1. I can set it back up to 10. And this gives me a lot of flexibility. You see all my account information is in here. I can immediately just set and go. Okay, so that's really handy. And it makes toggling between different mail servers that easy. Okay, so now, and then you see this little checkbox here, record emails sent in your sent folder. So what a lot of people don't know is we do not use Outlook. Mail Manager has no reliance on Outlook whatsoever. So it's not going to record the emails in your sent folder unless you select this. Now, obviously, every single additional delivery feature, okay, recording the history, recording in sent folder is going to be one more bit of overhead. So just be mindful that the more that you add, okay, the slower potentially your delivery is going to be. Okay. Now on to the next setting. So history settings, a very simple setting here where you are going to determine, are you going to use an existing history type, or are you going to create a new one? So let's say you want to do a history report and only do a report on, you know, the Mail Manager email type settings. Okay, I'm just going to mute everyone. Okay, sorry, I had to mute everyone. I was getting a fair bit of feedback. Okay, so, and if anyone needs to chat with me, then, you know, please feel free to chat through this, okay? But the value of this is really important because let's say you're sending thousands and thousands of emails. By having a custom history type, you're able to go in, retrieve all of those, and if needed, as part of maintenance, target those specific history types for deletion if you so choose, okay? Now, the other thing is every single one of these is meant to be CAN spam compliant, okay? So that all the emails that go out will have your own identification in the footer in compliance with the CAN Spam Act of 2003, okay? So you can see here, I've put in Ken Quigley, Keystroke.ca, our number and our full contact information. And I'm gonna show you what that looks like here at the bottom. So you could see this coming out. Okay, and then you could see powered by MailMerge, and which we'll cover later, you can see the unsubscribe feature. Okay, but this is a footer that gets sent out with all of your correspondence that you send out with Mail Manager. Now, what's nice is if you choose to hide it, let's say there's an internal distribution, or you've got an HTML with the footer information already embedded in it, then you may want to select this and send it out without that information. Okay, email delivery. Okay, use all contact email fields. What this will mean is obviously it's not going to just look for the primary email field that you have here, but it's going to scan all of them. So if something's missing here, it will send it out to that one as well. Okay, stationary settings. Now, email stationary was a feature that we added in fairly late in the development process, but this is what an email stationary looks like, okay? So what you can see is that I put my logo here that's automatically centered, okay? It's put it in a frame, so it's centered and it looks very professional, okay? It's got my footer settings, and then I've got not footer settings, signature settings, and then it's got the footer. So let's see what that looks like in the settings. So here you set the width, okay? Understand that 6.7 inches, 7 inches, you know, is the standard 600 pixels in width. So this is what we typically recommend, and this is the default, okay? You want to set your logo here. Do not worry about it being sized or contorted. It comes out looking exactly like you just saw a display, but you simply browse here and find it, or then clear it and select something else, okay? And then logo middle, logo alignment. Let's just say for, you know, On a lot of your stationery, it was left justified or right justified. You've got that option, okay? And then in the bottom, you've got your signature information, okay? And you have the ability to put in, just your signature or a little salutation at the bottom, okay? But here's where this is really nice, because a lot of mail merge products do not allow you to merge information directly into the subject line. Most of it is in the email body. We have the ability to put in a greeting. Okay, actually, sorry here. This is part of the body. So you'll put in hi. Okay, this morning I sent out to a French audience. I put in bonjour and put in the contact salutation, so it merged as expected. Sorry, this isn't the subject line. I'll get to that later. Okay, but this allows you to have a standardized, personalized message at the top. Okay. And then the update, like a lot of our Keystroke products, we configure it so that you can update or check for updates on each startup, okay? So let's see what that looks like, okay, as we are, looking to queue up an email. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to mute some of my, there we are. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mute, I'm going to send out a simple email to our admin account, okay, using the stationery feature. So let's just see how easy that is. Much like you would perform a normal merge with ACT, you click on Write, you click on Mail Merge, okay, and then you've got these choices. So merge to Word, fairly straightforward. This is not just an email tool. You can also use for print production as well. Merge to email, okay. Now the obvious thing is anytime you do a merge, you've got to have both the data source and you've got to have a template, okay? Email from stationery is a hybrid of that, where you can actually start from a lookup and write the template on the fly. And this is something that a lot of people requested, where, often you'll have a quick bulletin, a message to send out, say to 20 or 100 people. And it's fairly standardized and doesn't require a whole lot of prep. So you don't really want to go through that extra, jump through that extra hoop to create a template. So you want to create something on the fly. So the merge process and the template creation process are all in one. Okay. And that's where we came up with this email stationery. Obviously, you've got the ability to create or edit templates and then convert native templates. So you can actually take all of the existing. So if you're moving MailManager4Act into a production environment, they may have a lot of templates. You can convert one or all of them to the MailManager templates in one step, okay? And what's really, really cool about this is that because MailManager uses the same publisher as Act Premium Plus, and therefore the same extensions, is that all of these become part of your database that you can then sync. If you're using a subscriber database like I am in this instance, they then sync to the master database, so all users can update templates and share them, and they all sync. And why is this important? Most people aren't aware that unless a file is in the attachment folder, there is a very small whitelist of file types that actually sync with the ACT sync. And because this is an approved file extension, it actually syncs with regular ACT sync in the template folder. Okay, so that's not a small thing, that it's using the same publisher, okay, and the same file extensions and the same template formats as the core product used in Act Premium Plus, okay? But let's go to the email from stationery so we can actually see this process working, okay? I'm just gonna move this dialog box over here. So like any mail merge, you're gonna get the standard options: current contact, current lookup, all contacts, and group. Select group, and then you can select from the pull down, okay? We're gonna say current contact. Okay. Another thing that's very neat that isn't talked about is the ability to send, schedule a send now and then schedule emails later. So if you have an email that's got to go out, say, the next morning, okay, at a time that you've got something else scheduled, you can set the time to go, and then go through the rest of the mail merge workflow. It will finish, and then it will send it out on that schedule. Okay, that's something that a lot of other programs, in fact, very few other programs, have the ability to do. SwiftPage eMarketing does have the ability to support scheduled send, but once you queue it up, you can never edit it. Okay, and let me show you how important that is. So if you send out an email, you can actually say Mail Manager, edit scheduled email blast. So let's say that there was some correction or you had to make an update based on some new information. You can actually do that and edit the scheduled email blast. And I know for a fact that while Swift Page Marketing can schedule it, it's pretty much, once it's in the can, it can never be edited or even stopped. Okay, so back to write. Email from stationery. This box over here, click next. Okay, this is where I talked about before, is working with the subject line. So I can put, great news, and then say insert field. Up pops this dialog box here. Salutation. We have a sale today. Who would guess? Okay, now let's look at some of the other CC and BCC options here. I can set a CC. Okay, so let's say I want my sales manager or I want my support manager aware of something. I could put them in here, but because this is a merge, they would be copied on every single email that was sent. If I'm sending out 150 emails, I don't think they're going to be happy if they receive 150 carbon copies here. So we've got the option here of, say, on the initial email only. Okay, obviously an important feature. Change reply to address. Obviously, if you're sending this on behalf of someone, or you're sending on behalf of a certain department like support or marketing or sales or something like that, you're going to want to put in the reply to emails. Okay, and then here are some really cool deliverability options where you can determine the batch size. So let's say you want to set, it even gives you recommended batch size of 25 emails per batch, and then a 30-second email, 30-second delay between the emails, or the batches, I should say. All of these little things are going to enhance the deliverability of your emails. Okay. Then we've got the ability to add attachments or remove attachments. Pretty standard. Obviously, anytime you're merging, be very conscious of the size of the attachments because that can get very bloated on delivery. Okay, and now we've got just the standard publisher. Okay, so this is what the publisher will look like. Okay, and let's take a look at some of the options. All the standard toolbar options that you would expect in terms of bold, italics, underlining, double underlining, strike throughs, superscript, subscript, color formatting, you name it. You've got bulleted points, you've got justification. Also, you've got the ability to do search and replace. And then you've also have the ability to insert hyperlinks. A lot of people, this is a feature that I insisted on, a lot of people that are, let's say that I take this content from the website here and I paste it in, I'm a little worried that, I can't see all the coding behind this. So I can just simply go click on here, boom, and now it's in standard rich text. And the behavior is going to be far more predictable because I've cleared all the formatting. Okay. And let's say that that's pretty much it. I may want to, make this bold, increase the size. Okay. Italicize the first one. And that's it. And this will be the message that goes out. Okay. Now, here's record history. If you need the history recorded, then obviously use this. If this is something that you can avoid, like I said, every single extra step creates a little overhead. So just be conscious of that. So I'm going to record history type. Now the subject, you've got all the standard history recording options, but there's a new one here. Okay. History or subject and details. This allows you to set a custom detail. So instead of actually borrowing from the text that's being sent, you can actually express in here maybe campaign information. So I'm going to put in, instead of them seeing the text, I'm going to put in, this is for demo purposes. Okay, and you can have a custom history and that will go in. Then the next, ready to go, and boom, it's done. Okay. So go back over to my email here. And while I'm waiting for that, I'm just going to quickly go through some of the other features that we've got. Okay, so obviously delivery is a big part of it. However, deliverability, as we're seeing with the introduction of other services, is only as good as your list. Okay, if your list is not good, if there's an excessive number of bounces, you could end up getting yourself blacklisted from a third-party service, or even getting yourself blacklisted, your own mail server blacklisted. This is absolutely key, and this is why we don't just focus on deliverability, but we focus on the, on harvesting a good email list. Okay, so I'm going to show you the process for how Opt-in Manager works. So in this case, I'm going to click on Opt-in Manager, I'm going to click on Mail Manager, and I'm going to click on Opt-in Manager. And this is how simple it works. So if I want to create, if I want to get people's permission, you can see I've already created my field here. I'm going to send the KQC admin a standard email. Okay, so click here. This comes out pre-populated. I can set my signature information. I have a default email subject, and keeping all of this in plain text again increases the deliverability. As you can see that this is blank. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm fine with this. You see, accept here. Click here to accept or deny. So I'm going to click on OK. Again, current contact looked up, all contacts. Do I want to send it to yes? Okay, and now it goes. If you're sending out a lot of them, you'll see a progress bar going along the bottom of here, and you'll have the option to cancel them. Okay, so let's take a look at what that looks like. Okay, so very standard looking email, high deliverability rate. Okay, and you can see I'm not going to get into the content here, but here's your basic accept or deny, and let's see what that looks like. Okay, now in the back-end configurations, when you set up your account, you can obviously have custom information here, custom logo. Okay, so it all looks like it's all just you. You can see the optinmanagement.com is the domain. Okay, and now I'm going to click on opt-in. Okay, that's it. That's all you're asking your recipients to do. So now let's see what the net effect of that is. So now I'm going to go back to Mail Manager. I'm going to click on Opt-in Manage, and I'm going to say Update Contact Permissions. Okay, and what you're going to see over here is a little progress bar. It's going through all the servers, and it's updating the database. And now you see here, it's already updated this, and now this says accepted. Okay, so it's going through quite a few because I've sent out some campaigns. Okay, so it's said it's updated 39 contacts. But that's it. And now you've got this as accepted. You can then define your groups to be filtered only for records that have this accepted permission. Okay, that's going to produce obviously a much higher deliverability and much lower bounces. Okay, but normally what it would do is if you had, let's say, 10 or 100, it would then create a lookup list. Okay, and then you would click on OK, and it would then look up all the emails. So let's go here, look up email list. It would create all the list of emails that it is harvested from your bounces, put them into here, and then all you'd have to do is create lookup. Okay, so I'm just going to do here, Ken at Keystroke.ca, and then I'll have Michael K at KQC.ca, and then if I click on lookup, it immediately finds both the contacts. Okay, now once you've got, let's say 50 or 100 of these records that have bounced, you've got the ability to modify them all at once by clicking on lookup, replace field, and you can see, even take that contact permission, okay, and say change all of those records to denied. So you do not send them out again because you want to stop getting the bounces, and then use this as a way of contacting people and finding out why they may have bounced and get some updated information. So that's a very cool feature. We sent an email at the beginning of this week, and we got 1,300 bounces, really high, but we hadn't used this particular feature before. But 1,100 of them, I was able to do a lookup on just basically from the inbox, and then convert all of them to denied. What would have been literally a time prohibitive process, I got done in about 5 minutes, okay, and was able to flag all of those people for no more future marketing delivery so that those bounces would stop, okay? Now, Mail Manager for Act, let's go back in here. So we've looked at the IMAP folder, we've looked up the email addresses. Now, let's say someone sends you an email and says, I would like to be opted in, or I wasn't able to use that link. Let's show you how easy it is, okay? I'm able to set here, that's Mail, right click, and this is why we added in Act for Outlook. I was able to right click, say go to contact. Okay, now I've got Mel Boudin. I've got his information here, okay, and now I want to send him out a unique email, okay. I click Opt-in Manager, and I say I can either use this or generate unique link. This has been copied to the clipboard. I can go back to the inbox, over here, reply, and say, Mel, here is your opt-in link. Some troubling typing there. Okay, here's your opt-in link, and then I'm able to send. So you can see how having the ability to find contacts from within the inbox really works well in the overall workflow of managing your inbox. Okay, click on send, and now it goes out. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so we've covered the Mail Manager. In terms of doing regular emails, okay, like regular email blasts, like merge to email, a lot of the same steps, but now, of course, you can see all of these templates have been converted, okay? So we can have, let's say, mid-impact template. So I've actually, you can see it's exactly like email stationery, except that I am now working with a template. Clicking on next, send now, same ability to copy, blind carbon copy, same ability to insert in merge fields, okay, change reply to address, okay, add remove, subject history, okay, and then you send it out. The one thing with the email stationery that you don't, that you had there that you don't have with here is obviously the ability to add text because you're working from a template, okay? So, additionally, let's go through another feature that very few people know is the web form feature. And we actually put it in, I'm going to bring this page back here. Now, let's see our own web form in action. Okay, so this web form here, now you can either use this as this form, okay, and this form is hosted on our server, or you can nest it into an iframe within your own website structure. Okay, either way, here is the form. So I'm going to put in, let's say, Ken testing, and of course we've got a CAPTCHA so that it doesn't end up polluting your database with a whole lot of bots, and then you click on submit. Okay, thank you for your submission. So let's go back to our database and see what that looks like. We go Mail Manager for Act, Web Forms, download web form submissions. Okay, now you get this little message saying 1 contacts were added to the database. Do you wish to perform a lookup of these contacts? Okay, so now you're not only able to download the information, you're able to review who added to your database and do a quick lookup. Okay, so very, very easy management. So if it's part of a campaign, you put this information into a newsletter, click here for sign up. This becomes really, really useful to not just easily harvest information and get it into your database, but to actually see what was added, okay? So then we've got, okay, so we've got the web form settings. Let's take a look at what that looks like on the back end, okay? This is all that it looks like. You've got the ability to work with some default fields. I've added in some custom fields. Okay, we are allowed, 5 different additional fields, and then you can put on the other informations put into the footer. Okay, so here's the header of the web form. As you can see, here is the footer. Please click submit, and then the contact us email. So the page, getting back to what we were looking at before, actually looks, fairly nice and clean. Okay. And then you've even got a deduping option. If a match is not found, create a new contact. So if it is found, it will just provide the update. So as long as this is checked, okay, then it will corresponding to that command. Okay, so we've got one of the other things that we had to introduce is certain components like opt-in manager does not need to have a subscription for every single user. So right now, opt-in manager sells for $200 a year as a subscription, okay? However, a team would only require one because they're all working with the same master database. They don't need multiple people harvesting opt-ins. So what you can do is you can have one person to get a mail manager account, and then the rest of your team that wants to use templates, you can add licenses that way, okay? Dramatically less expensive, and it makes it very, very easy to manage. It's like an additional $5 a month for merge mail. Okay, so you can add additional users, and because the licensing is based on the actual Act user and not the install, okay, you can actually have someone with a desktop and a laptop that only needs one license, okay, or a team member that only needs one license. That is what I wanted to cover. I hope that the main point of this webinar was to demonstrate how many features are built in here. When you're looking at, scheduling send, managing bounces, the first time you get a lot of bounces and you're able to scan the inbox, have it find them and do a quick lookup and, immediately filter those out, you're going to think you've that by itself has paid for the subscription in terms of save time. Being able to harvest all of your opt-ins, I mean, we already have a ton of customers paying $200 per year for this feature. Okay, I'm going to block people in. Okay, and then the web forms, there's a lot of people paying $20 a month just for web forms. These are added in at no extra cost. Okay, and then our flexible licensing, tying it to, per users and adding an additional mail merge for Act licenses makes this even more affordable. So again, license per user, not per install. So if you've got a couple of installs and with a common user, then it's at no additional cost. Okay, so thank you very much, and that concludes our session on Mail Manager for Act.